Well, Shona, thanks so much for coming today. And you mentioned over the phone that you wanted to come and talk and have a chat about Amy's death. And I'm sorry to hear about Amy's death. Can you tell me what happened?
Well, she's 22 and she died very unexpectedly one morning, and the autopsies have actually showed no reason for her death. I've done 2 autopsies, and one was a top specialist, and they still haven't come up with a reason for her death. They just said adult death syndrome, basically, which was harder. It's harder to accept when someone just literally at 22 drops dead. So that was hard for the family and my children, my daughter and my son-in-law. But because we've got such a large family, it had a very bad impact on everybody. And being the grandmother, I felt I had to carry it all, and it's been hard, been tough.
And when did this happen?
Oh, just recently, within the last 6 months.
I'm sorry to hear that. It's not an easy thing to go through. And I mean, have the rest of the family, do they know about it?
They know that they all knew that they didn't know the cause of death. But of course, being the cousins, they all the same age, so it's the first time anyone in our family's ever died. As far when we've had grandparents die, but not young people. So it had a terrible impact on everybody. It was a real wake-up call for all of them, especially at that age. I mean, you're prime of your life. They took it really hard. It was actually quite traumatic for them. Brought up a lot of questions about life and where they're going and what they're doing with their own lives. So it was very traumatic for all of us. And like I said, being the grandmother and the mother, I felt I had to carry them all because it wasn't looking good for a while there. And the parents, my daughter has coped with it reasonably well, but my son-in-law is just totally, he's just not coping. And I don't know whether he even will, he's just really not, he's not accepting it, that she's gone, basically, and it's been really tough,
Yeah, it's very hard. It's very hard when something like that happens. And you're a Christian, I take it.
Yes,
you're a Christian.
Yes,
and
we're a Christian family, yeah.
And Amy's mum, she know the Lord as well?
She does know the Lord, and Ian did give his heart to Lord the Father, but now that's reversed to the fact that he's very angry with God for taking his daughter. So it's had it had a good effect, a positive effect, and now it's had a reverse effect. So, and Amy was, she was a lovely Christian. So she's in a better place, that helped. That helped for me as a Christian. That helped totally with my grief, because I know one day I'll see her again. My other children, because we're a big family, my other children, they're Christians, they're not walking very close with God, but they did acknowledge the fact that she's in heaven, so that was good. That part of it was very positive. But it was just dealing with the loss, really. It's just not having her walk through the door again. And even I struggled with that. Not that Amy's never going to walk through my door again and say, hello, Nana. She was a bubbly little thing, and she lived with me for a long time. So that part's very hard. It's very hard to deal with. That's the hardest part, that she's not coming through the door again. And, looking at the grief that my grandchildren are suffering, my other grandchildren.
How old was she when she died?
She was only 22.
22? Shame, That's very, very hard. Very, very hard to get through that, did she have many friends?
She had lots of friends, she did. The funeral was massive, but it was very, it was a sad funeral, but a happy funeral. We all knew she was with the Lord, but it was very sad because it was a reality check for that age group when they, when they've got to sit there and see one of their friends who's gone. And so in that sense, it was very sad. Everyone was crying, and it was very emotional.
And your relationship with her was very, very strong, wasn't it?
Yeah, we were very close. I was her only grandmother, really. So she didn't have any grandfathers or anything. So no, I was very close, and she lived with me. So
And how long did she live with you?
10 months, and then she just moved in with some of her girlfriends. in a house to share, and she had only been there a couple of months before they found her. Yeah.
Tell me, how did you feel after the funeral? How did you feel after that? Did you feel it was like you had a closure on the situation?
I wouldn't say a closure. It was just the reality at the funeral that she actually wasn't coming back. But then you still think she's going to walk through the door because she always did. But I think I've had closure over the months just because I'm a Christian, in the sense that I'm missing her, but I know she's in a better place. And I think the hard thing is not knowing what she died from. That is actually a really hard thing to get closure on, because you can't. There's just no closure. She just died for no reason. Well, there was a reason, but nobody knows what it was. The autopsy literally showed nothing, absolutely nothing, in any of the MRIs or the blood tests, nothing. That, I think, is what her father is having trouble with. I guess as time goes on, we'll just have to learn to accept it. And I know there's different stages to grief, but yeah, it's just I don't know whether I need to go and see a counsellor on it and just make sure I'm coping all right. I feel like I am sometimes, and sometimes I don't. So I don't know whether I've got the perspective right or not. So maybe I should go and talk to somebody. I don't know.
And how does her mother feel? Has she been for counselling at all?
Yes, she's been to counselling from her pastor, and they've lost a child too, very similar age. So that was good. So she had someone to relate to. The father's he works overseas now and totally isolated himself from everybody. And extreme grief, like extreme grief. He sleeps on her pillow, has his perfume next to his bed, like he just, no, he's not coping. He's totally, just closed off to everybody, doesn't want help, we can't talk to him. So that's hard to cope for my daughter. So I really feel for my kids. That's as a mother and a grandmother, that's what I'm finding hard. That's where I probably need a bit of counselling to put it in perspective.
From what it sounds like, it sounds as though it's affecting the marriage quite a bit.
Badly. The marriage is not in a good place right now. So it's just an added stress, to watch.
And have they got any other children?
They've got an autistic son who's only 7, and there's a brother, half brother, who's 17, and he's not coping yet. He's self-harming now, and not coping, but he has actually had counselling, and he seems to be struggling, but moving on a little bit.
Yeah, no, it's very, very difficult. Has the other brother, he's been for a bit of counselling, has he? The
17-year-old has, yes, because they were very close. They were very close. He's probably been quite badly affected as well. Like I said, he started self-harming, but we seem to have got over that little hurdle. And he's been to quite a bit of counselling, so he seems to be trying to get his head around it. And all my other children and the cousins are, just slowly getting there. There are times where something will happen, they'll all get upset, but they seem to be slowly moving on and accepting it. But it's really the immediate family, like the father and Luke, the brother. They're probably the two. And my daughter, the mum, she's coping because she knows how to lean into God, and she knows she's done counselling herself, so she's good. She does go for counselling. So she's, even though she gets very, very upset at times, she's still coping with it quite okay.
I think you find that in situations like this, I mean, I lost my brother at a very young age, and it took me a very long time to get over it, but you do seem to get over, the Lord seems to really take you over that stage where things stop coming right in your mind, and you start focusing on life again. And I mean, do you feel as though you're coping with it's getting easier and easier as time goes on?
It is, yes. I guess. It's not that the memory fades, but you start looking at the practicality of it, that you don't know you know, if she had survived, would she have had brain damage? I mean, you start looking on, even though they couldn't find out what she died from, maybe it could have been, maybe God just took her because of what would have been ahead of her, which is the way I think of it. Maybe that's a good thing. Yeah, it's getting easier in some aspects, but I think what's magnifying it a little bit is the fact that the family unit is so dysfunctional now as a result, and that's just an added thing that we've got to try and. I can't interfere too much, being the mother and the grandmother, but it's not good to see, and it's very sad to see after losing someone that the repercussions are so bad, and it's actually, you know, destroying the family unit. Just because they're not, you know, the father's just not coping. He's totally isolated.
Has he been advised to go for counselling at all?
We've all advised him to go and have professional counselling, and he absolutely refuses to speak to anybody. Even some of the men at church have tried to mentor him, and he's not interested. He will not discuss it with anybody. He just locks himself in a room and cries. You know, it's really quite traumatic to watch.
Sounds as though he's suffering from post-traumatic stress, or
well, it would indicate that definitely. There's something holding him back that he just won't move on.
Yeah.
And can't seem to move on. And he won't unless he has counselling. He needs professional advice and help, and probably medication. But he won't listen to any of us.
And is your daughter working now?
Yes.
She is.
Yeah. So she's working, and he's working in Japan. So yes. Yeah, so it's very hard. The one that's autistic, the young 7-year-old, he's okay because he's not really aware of what really, just that Amy's not around. He doesn't really understand. So that's a blessing in a way, that he has got no awareness that Amy's gone, really. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that that's affecting him at all?
I don't think so. When it first happened, for the first month or two, he kept saying, "Where's Amy? Where's my sister?" But after that, he had a picture of her near his bed, and he's got a little book about things they did. And in the book that they did up, we had someone do it up, and it had on it that she's in heaven looking after him, like looking at him. And it was a very well written book actually, and he seems to have accepted that, and that's fine. Yeah. So things are going really well with him. Like I said, it's a blessing really that he's autistic and he has no awareness really of that she's permanently not coming back. Yeah.
Have you been to see your local GP for any antidepressants or any medication that might help you get through the problem?
No. I've talked to the doctor about it, but I'm very positive, so, and being a Christian's helped, and he's a Christian too. So I don't think that, for me, I don't think that was the answer. For the father, yes, I think there's definitely a need, but he won't go. But for me, no, but I guess other options. What do you suggest?
Well, I personally, I think that it would be good to get some counselling, and maybe going through your GP, he could suggest a good counsellor, or going to visit somebody who could help you with that, to get round through all those difficult times, because I'm sure that you have some real dark periods that come back to you every now and again, and it'd be good to go and see a counsellor. So have you been to see any counselling?
No, I haven't,
No.
but that's why I wanted to talk to you, to see whether you think I need it, whether I'm coping okay, whether you think I should talk to somebody.
Well, I think it would help to talk to somebody. Counsellors are not the answer to everything, but they do have a real ability to be able to help you get through difficult times. And I think it would be wise to go and see a counsellor. I can give you some names of some counsellors that you could go and see, or you could get a reference from your doctor. He could probably give you a good counsellor to go and see. There's some very good psychologists around that could help with that situation, and I think that would benefit you. And then if you do go through a counsellor, you can always come back to me and we can discuss it further. We can see where we can help from there. You know, I think that would be a good thing to do. Would you like me to give you some counsellors?
Yes, I think even if it's just 1 or 2 sessions, just to make sure that I'm actually on track properly. Yeah, and just go through the grief process to see how far along I've got and what I've got ahead of me and what to expect. And you know, I know there's different stages to grief. I've heard people talk about it, so I just like to know where I am actually at, and also so how I can support my children and grandchildren too. If I understand what I'm going through, then I can help see what they're going through and help them.
You know, I think sometimes it helps to, you know, even sometimes people think, oh well, I don't need to see a counsellor. You know, I don't need counselling. But when you actually get into the counselling, you find out that it's actually very beneficial. And I think it would be good to suggest that her children can go and see counsellors as well. Her other son, although he seems to be fine.
Yeah, no, he's really seeing a counsellor.
Yeah.
But even I could mention it to the other cousins, because everyone was affected. You know, like I said, we're a very big family, so it had a very broad effect on everybody.
Yeah, it must be a very traumatic time that you went through that. It's not easy to go through things like that. You know, especially when someone's so young as Amy was.
Yeah. That's right.
So it's very, very difficult. My heart goes out to you. And yeah, I can give you some counsellors' names now, and then we can go from there.
Okay, that'd be great.
I think also, if I can suggest that you go to some support groups that deal with grief, that would help you tremendously as well. You know, there are some support groups around that can really help you, that sort of thing. And I think that would be very beneficial to go and see.
Okay, I never really thought about that, but that's probably a really good idea, because they'd be understanding and they'd know what I'm going through. And actually, So who do I ask about the support groups, the counsellor, or how do I find out? I
think if you if you see your GP, he might be able to suggest a support group. But I've got a list of support groups which I'll give you, and then we can take it from there.
So do you suggest seeing the counsellor and the support group, or wait for see the counsellor first?
No, I think see the counsellor first, and then maybe they can even suggest a really good support group to go and visit.
Okay.
And they would help you tremendously with that, I think. It'd be very beneficial anyway.
Okay, sounds like a plan.
Well, thank you so much for coming, Shona, and we will continue just to follow up on how things are going. And please feel free to come back to me anytime, and we can just chat and talk.
Thank you.